Okay, so we're here at Bluepulse again. This is my first Fast Company article interview with you. Who are you?
My name's Ben Keighran, founder and CEO of Bluepulse.
And what the heck is Bluepulse?
Bluepulse is a social messaging application specifically for your mobile phone.
Okay. And so I know what Facebook is or MySpace. Why have one just for my mobile phone?
Right.
And tell me a little bit about it.
Okay, so
let me hold that for you. That way you can be animated.
Thanks. So essentially, we launched the company in December 2006, and the aim was to try and make a better messaging experience for your mobile phone.
Yeah.
The way that all came about was I actually started working on Bluepulse as a hobby project where I built a platform and was hosting all of these widgets that were developed by people all around the world as a hobby sort of thing, and ended up seeing that people wanted a more improved way of messaging and staying connected with friends. Some of the widgets that were running on the platform were like instant messaging widgets. We had email. We had all sorts of different things. So essentially, Bluepulse launched as an application in December 2006 for your phone, where you would just bring in your address books from different places, and you could use those address books and have this new and unique way of sending all different types of messages out from your phone. So
now, is there a cost savings to doing it the Bluepulse way of, if I want to SMS my friend all night long, because we're trying to talk with each other and we're not in the same house, is it cheaper than using SMS, or is it, what can I do with Bluepulse that I can't do with SMS, I guess is the what I was getting at.
It's actually the other way around. So you can do everything you can do with text messaging on Bluepulse, but a whole lot more stuff. So the big focus for the Bluepulse application is giving people a way to instantly set up group conversations and update their status, update all their friends with what they're doing in this one unique messaging application for their phone. Okay. So it means, like, if I'm going to organize a party tonight, I don't have to pull out my phone and fire off 10 different text messages and get 10 different replies. I don't have to fire off 10 different emails and get 10 different replies. Can I pull out the Bluepulse messaging application, and I can put in a whole bunch of people's phone numbers, a whole bunch of people's email addresses, send it, and when they all reply, they're all replying in this threaded conversation in this one messaging app straight from my mobile phone.
Now, do they all, so if I have 10 friends that I want to send messages to, do they all have to have Bluepulse, or can I go from Bluepulse to SMS?
So today they'll get an SMS when you enter in their phone number, or an email when you enter in the email address. Okay. On SMS, they do have to sign up to Bluepulse to get their message and reply.
Okay.
And via email, within a certain time period, they'll be able to pick up those messages from the sender, and we're moving towards opening it completely up so that users will fully be able to not worry whether their friends are on Bluepulse or not, because the big value to the user is the ability to sort of set up an instant conversation via any of the different messaging applications our friends are using, email, SMS, and further on we'll be bringing in the different social networking messaging applications like Facebook's messaging application and all these different things to give you this one sort of universal way of sending and receiving messages on your phone.
Can you give me a sense of how many people are on Bluepulse?
So to give you a sense of that, in the last 14 months, we've grown a user base where we've got users in 198 countries.
198?
198, generating a bit over 200 million messages a month now. So we've done about 500 million messages in the last 14 months. And this is all via the Bluepulse, messaging platforms. This is not counting like SMSs or emails or anything going out. This is just, users on Bluepulse using the Bluepulse app, sending it to other folks on Bluepulse.
Now, a lot of my viewers are business people, right? Fast Company is a business magazine. And I bet a lot of them are like, that sounds like something my high school kid would use, or my son who's in college now would use, but doesn't sound like a thing a business person would use. Do you sense that business people are starting to use social networks for any real reason yet?
Look, the reason...
I know we use LinkedIn for sending resumes and making contacts, but Tell me what you're seeing happen.
So where we started December 2006 was trying to develop a way to really improve communication for actually college kids, so they had a better way of sort of messaging and staying in touch with groups of friends while they were mobile and walking around. Yeah. But how that's evolved is we actually feel that what we're building is the mass market killer, messaging application for your phone. So it means I don't have to open up the text messaging app to send a text message. I don't have to open up the email app to send an email. I don't have to go to Facebook to send a Facebook message. I'm mobile, I'm fast, I'm instant, I want to set up a conversation now sort of thing. And this is why Bluepulse is successful as a phone-based messaging application. On your PC, you've already got ways you do this. Yeah. There's already lots of different ways.
We already have instant messaging built into Lotus Notes or Exchange, right?
Right.
And email, of course, and we have SMS to get into Twitter, for instance. But this is, if I'm walking around, which a lot of salespeople do, a lot of business people have cell phones and walk around. I just wondered if you're seeing usage switch from the early adopter college kids to more of a business audience yet. Well, and if that's one of your goals, I don't.
Yeah, no. So it's not a goal. The goal is actually to build the starting point on your phone. We want to be the killer mass market app that 3 billion people, that own mobile devices use every day.
Yeah.
So the thing that I've seen happen in the last 14 months is definitely utilities and applications have taken off in the mobile space. So, some people like weather applications, some people like mapping applications, some people like sport applications, and you see I'm using the word applications over and over again.
Yeah.
It's because applications or a utility is something I can use fast and, when I'm out and about, quick access to information.
Yeah, well, you have an iPhone here, and I know I use the stock application, right? That's not the web, because you're not opening a web browser, you're
right.
clicking on the stock application, which does use the internet to get its information, right? But
right.
It's an application that's on the phone.
So if we think about what is going to be the starting point on our phones, what's the one app that everybody in the world that has a mobile phone wants? Let me draw an analogy for you. So if we take the computer and we think about the billion, PC users out there that have an internet connection, every single one of them browses and explores content on that computer. They may only do it a small fraction of the time, or they might do it a huge amount of time, but that's what they do. Mm-hmm. So search becomes the starting point on your computer because it allows you to browse and sift through and explore content very efficiently and very quickly.
Yeah.
Now, what Bluepulse is doing on the phone is we've recognized that everyone's carrying their phone for communication. Yeah. The reason they're happier to leave their wallet at home than their mobile phone is because they always want to be able to be connected with the people they know. And what we're doing is making that more efficient.
No, last night I just got a new Nokia phone, which has a 5-megapixel camera. I took some pictures of the beach, and I compared it to my $3,000 SLR. And there still is a difference. Obviously, there would be between a cell phone and a professional camera, but the difference is pretty small. Wow. Most people would have to see the photos side by side and look at them a couple times to pick out the professional camera. They're getting that good in cell phones. Are you starting to work like photography or video into the social network, or is that something that's done in other applications tangential or outside of Bluepulse?
So we do allow people to add videos and add pictures and share them with their friends on Bluepulse, but it's a very small, feature. It's very simple. It's very, very basic, that feature. Again, sort of the core of the service is messaging, group messaging, and to a smaller degree, status updates and things between friends. And what we've really tried to focus in is what do the 3 billion people out there want to do with their phone? Yeah. Send these text messages.
Most phones that like my teenage friends don't have these expensive cameras or video, right? Because they're buying the cheapest phones they can because they don't have good paying jobs yet, right?
Right.
And their parents aren't going to buy them a $400 iPhone or a $500 iPhone, so they're buying the phone that's $20 and subsidized and getting something like a Nokia S60 style phone. Or tell me what Bluepulse runs on. Does it run on all phones, or do you need a specific kind of phone to run it?
Well, so it's based on a platform, as you know, it started as a hobby, and the objective of that hobby was to make an agnostic platform where you could build content and it would work on everybody's handset. Originally, its origin comes from being a Java and Symbian application that was ported to a huge range of handsets. But the direction we've gone is actually to make it browser-based. And the reason for that is, even though there's tons of Java Java phones out there, tons of Symbian phones, and we've still got support for those handsets in the form of applications, what we've seen happen in the last 6 months with iPhone has been phenomenal. And I really believe...
Tell me why you say it's phenomenal.
Well, the reason I say it's phenomenal is looking at some statistics of an iPhone user and the amount of data they're consuming versus an N95 user and the amount of data they're consuming. It's just orders of magnitude. And I firmly believe that over the next year or two, particularly here in the US, we're about to see an absolute explosion in mobile apps because of this. I feel that the iPhone's browser has shown the carriers just how much data that can drive. I feel that handset manufacturers around the world are picking up on this and starting to build really great browsers into their handsets. I feel that this is great news for developers because they can really build for their web browser, the mobile web browser. I actually blogged about this recently as well. Build for the mobile web browser and have it work on a huge range of phones. And going forward, I think that is the platform to support.
Can you show me what it looks like on the iPhone?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So first of all, Bluepulse will look the same on whether it's a BlackBerry or whether it's a Motorola Razr or whether it is an iPhone. But any of these phones, it'll look the same on. But there's basically two interfaces that I want to show you because this is where most of the usage happens.
Okay.
So what we're looking at now is the sending screen on Bluepulse. And it's a pretty basic looking screen. It's just got a 2 box and a message box and a send button there. The cool thing about this screen...
Tilt it forward. So.
Okay, how's
Yep.
that? Is that cool? The cool thing about this screen is in that 2 box, I can enter in someone's phone number, I can enter in someone's email address, I can enter in a friend's name, I can enter in a group name, I can update my status from it. I can basically do all of the things that I can do in all the other different messaging applications just from the one interface. So the reason that's handy is rather than having to open up SMS applications or email applications or log into wherever through Safari, I can basically send all of my messages out through the one interface on the screen. And I think that when you set out to, revolutionize the way people are communicating, when you set out to really make a huge change, you just want to slightly change one or two things for people. It's very subtle, very easy for them to adapt and start using with their other friends. And
Yep.
the reason why this is important is because everyone knows how a 2 box works, everyone knows how a messaging works, but no one's had the ability to enter in all of these different types of contacts in the one place on their phone before. The phone number, the email address, the friend's name, all these different things in the one phone. It's really quick, it's really easy to use, and you get the one screen for all outgoing information.
Yeah.
So we've done exactly the same thing with incoming information as well. So if I just go to this next screen, if I hit the messages screen up here, you get this one universal message box for all incoming information. So let me try and see quickly. If I go up and down here, I've basically got everything from status updates to direct messages people have sent me. Hopefully no one sent me a funky message on the front. I've got group messages that I've received. I've got all the different types of messages coming into the one screen on my phone. And the way that we've tried to structure that is we've given you almost this instant messaging style interface where you can see the things that you've sent and the things that you've received, all from the different types of messages, all in the one place of your phone. So that you've really got that app on your phone that you wake up in the morning, hit the big B on your phone, and you can see what all your friends are doing.
So if Rocky was in Pacifica right now and he has Bluepulse on his phone, and he says, "Hey, let's get together for drinks," it would show up on this feed right now, and then I could say, "Hey, yeah, let's get together at Half Moon Bay Brewery," or something like that.
Absolutely. So the thing I'll tell you about the messaging system here is that a direct message where you've sent a direct message to Rocky or Rocky has sent that to you, a direct message actually results in an SMS because you're going to want to know about that pretty urgently.
Okay.
But if Rocky was just doing a status update to say, "Hey, I've just, this is what I've done throughout my day," or "This is where I'm at right now," you may not want to get bothered about that. So what happens is until you've got at least 3 or 4 status updates, until you've got 3 status updates from friends, you don't get notified about that. You can just come and check that passively as you go about your day.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can switch that on or off, actually, depending on the degree in which you want to get bugged and notified by your friends.
Very cool. This is a free system?
It's completely free.
Okay.
And
do you get charged on SMS, or is it counted on your data plan? So you have to make sure you have a free data plan or something.
Sure.
Especially for parents who might not have, a super high-end account like I do. What do they have to check to make sure they're not going to get a huge bill at the end of the month?
The best advice I could give them is to try and get on an all-you-can-eat data plan.
Yeah.
It uses a very small amount of data compared to most mobile applications because it's all done in 2 screens. So you've got the one screen for outgoing and the one screen for incoming, and it's designed to use a small amount of data, so it's really fast. You're not loading up lots of different pages and all these sorts of things. But I still would, recommend an unlimited data plan or something to that extent. Okay. Now, in terms of the SMS, Bluepulse picks up the tab of the SMS at the moment. I know that there are some carriers out there that will charge you to receive some text messages, and in that case, that's that's how it will be. But in terms of the outbound SMSs and things, we handle that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Anything else? Tell me a little bit about your team, because people who watch FastCompany.com like to know what kind of team you're building, what kind of corporate culture you're building. I know you just hired somebody from Google. Tell me a little bit about what you're trying to do here. And by the way, what was developed here in this office? This is the former office of YouTube. This is where YouTube started, right?
It is the former office of YouTube. Yeah. So there's some good
Does
karma
that put
here.
pressure on you? You got big shoes to fill, Did they leave the big shoes in the corner of the room for you to fill?
They did. So hopefully we can live up to that.
Yeah.
So look, there's been lots happening here. We've got some really exciting upgrades that are going to be coming out on Bluepulse in the next few weeks. I talked about when I was giving you the product demo that everything goes out through one screen and everything comes in through another. We're bringing those screens together. It's going to be even faster and easier to send group messages and status updates. And it's been, all through user feedback, all through user data that we've looked at to build something that's going to be even cooler for our huge audience out there that's using this to stay connected with their friends. One of the reasons, last time we chatted, one of the reasons I came out here to the States was to build a phenomenal team. I get really excited when people use an application that I've been involved in developing and they get enjoyment out of that.
You started in Australia and moved to the San Francisco Bay Area, right?
That's exactly right.
Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley. So that's exactly right. So I get, my passion is in seeing someone, get enjoyment out of something I've been involved in creating. And so, as I say, it started off as a hobby project, but came out here to build a team that could really scale something and build something that hopefully millions, maybe billions of people around the world will be able to use one day. So over the last 14 months, as I've said, huge growth in the messaging space, and an announcement we made just at CTIA in Vegas recently, was that we've just brought over a former director of engineering for Google Apps, specifically Gmail, to be our new CTO and lead the engineering team here. I think that's huge validation for Bluepulse and what we're doing, and I actually like to introduce you to him. And he's
Hey, how you doing?
All right.
Thanks, and I'll just do the microphone.
And if he looks a little tired, it's because he's asleep here. He slept here last night, or maybe for an hour or two in the morning.
Yeah.
I have to go home and take a shower and give you the courtesy of clean teeth.
I was up pretty late last night too, watching Seasmic deliver video comments for Discuss. So we were waiting for them to do that so we could be the first guys to post videos on the Dave Weiner's blog, which is fun. And I won the game. So. So tell me a little bit about your background, why you left, a great job at Google to come and join a motley crew of Australians, right?
This is where things are happening. This is where.
First of all, what did you do at Google?
I ran the team that essentially run is SRE, Site Reliability Engineering.
Yeah.
So Google has 3 major pillars. One is search, another is ads, and the third one is apps. So apps is the startup team within Google. It's a pretty large division, and I ran the operations of all the computing systems there.
Right.
And Gmail, of course, is the biggest application today.
Yeah.
I was born on April 1, 4 years ago.
Yeah. and I use it now, and I use Google Calendar. So all those kinds of things were
Right.
under your.
Right.
You think that's funny that they launched it on April 1, April Fool's Day?
I think it's great because it got PR. Now everybody expects it, so it won't work again.
Yeah, that's right. Well, this year the joke wasn't as good as last year.
Yeah.
I really like the paper delivery.
But you know, to most people, it's like working at Google and running Google. It's like that's a dream job. Why leave a dream job to come and start something new?
Because I've done it now. Yeah, I want to do what I haven't done, which I keep, you know, in our conversations before I came over, I kept asking Ben, how big an operation you want to build here.
Yeah.
And if it's anything less than multi-billion, you know, 1 billion, then let's not talk. But if you have a larger vision than that, then let's do it, because that's the one thing I haven't done.
Yeah.
I've done a lot in my life, and that's one thing that one hill that I still want to climb.
And there's not many other areas that you could pick a company that will have that kind of scale, right? Cell phones, clearly, I mean, I met the guy who runs China Telecom at Davos, and he says, I'm signing up 6 million new users a month.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Yeah.
That's crazy growth.
The world's largest.
And so, and that's just in China, right? There's India, there's here, there's Europe, there's the
right,
Middle
yeah.
East, and so you're seeing huge numbers of new people coming into this world.
And the interesting thing about the U.S. is that here we're starting from very far behind, but that means that we're starting from a small base, and the growth is going to be that much. You know, it's one of those few things, actually, if you look at the industry, technology trends, one of those rare events where you actually look to Asia and see what's coming next in the U.S. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
So what are you seeing coming? I mean,
well, certainly
since you have a worldwide 198 countries your product is on,
Yeah.
what are you seeing happen around the world? I know when I was in Israel and Amsterdam, their usage is much different, much more text oriented than here.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I even watch kids; they're always texting, right?
Yeah. So in this context, I think of the U.S. as a developing country, and other countries as well developed. And what you see in developed countries is they usually skip technology generations.
Yeah.
Right. For example, you know, if you go to Vietnam or Malaysia and other developing countries, when they develop the rural side, you know, the countryside, they skip copper completely.
Yes.
Right. And then
Because it's cheaper to put wireless or
Exactly.
fiber into it.
Right. So if you take that parallel and look at what's going to happen in the U.S., I think the U.S. is going to skip SMS completely, right, and just go to the mobile web, because the applications are much richer and devices are going to be much more powerful. And this is happening over the next 6 to 12 months, you know, with things like iPhone, the iPhone stats.
Android coming up.
And Android.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to talk too much about that. You know, for us, the way, you know, this is something we talked about earlier. We've really become, you know, a browser-based application. So development platforms like Android allow us to build like site-specific browsers for Android-like handsets, where we will be able to provide our users with special functionality on those types of handsets. Things maybe like location, or the ability to tie into the camera on the phone book and, you know, send those up to Bluepulse. Things that would really enhance the Bluepulse, you know, browser-based app on those sorts of devices.
Yeah.
But Christopher, do you want to?
That's what Android is intended to do. You have this operating system, and you can actually hook various, you know, APIs into it, so that one application can talk to another and get all that data. But how I see it, I can tell a story, you know, that I think you can relate to a lot. Your former boss, Vic Goduntra, right?
Yeah, I just saw him last night or 2 nights ago.
Yeah, so he, you know, I mean, it was 3 months after the iPhone launch, and you know, he was running around with this graph, and I can talk about it now because he's talked about it publicly a lot, right? He said, "Oh my God, look at this stat! It's incredible! Look at this graph, right? How much iPhone usage, you know, for our applications, it's just exploded compared to the baseline 3 months before." And so we see that what the iPhone is really doing is that there are 3 things to it. Number 1 is it's a different kind of user. Number 2 is that it's a different UI altogether, so it's significantly better. And number 3 is there's also the Wi-Fi component to it. So it's not just a mobile phone now.
Yeah.
It's
And you
truly
can figure out how to use the Wi-Fi. I mean, my Nokia has Wi-Fi, but figuring
Oh,
it
yeah.
out is, it takes a geek, because just to know where to turn it on takes a geek.
I have this 5-second rule, right? If it takes me more than 5 seconds to do something, I'm not going to use it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So what the iPhone is doing and what Android is doing is great for companies like ours, because we can count on the fact that devices are going to be more powerful. We can give users a much better experience, and they're going to become to you know, to use the messaging application that we provide. So the capabilities are going to be getting better and better, and we just focus on execution.
Having 198 countries And having such a big message base and a big user base, I bet scale is something you guys. I bet that's why he didn't sleep last night.
Yeah, we should pull Drew over here. He's the guy that I said, we need to set a goal of being able to double capacity within 24 hours notice. And if it falls down, it's you, Drew.
So tell me what it's like to build an organization that has to deal with that kind of scale, that kind of growth, and that kind of breadth of devices all over the world.
It's really fun and it's really fun and exciting.
Has this ever been done before?
Yes.
Well,
but that's yeah.
But do you think you're going to pass Gmail in terms of?
I have the advantage of having seen the large scale, and so it's kind of like you don't have to wonder whether it's possible anymore. You've seen it, right? On the other hand, it's still a very daunting challenge to then stand back from here, and then we got to scale up to there. Yeah. But it's all very exciting. It's what keeps me up at night, but with adrenaline rather than anything else.
Yeah. Are you doing here what Google did to the data center and coming out with your own architecture, your own machines basically, and your own idea of how you're going to architect those things and build even device drivers that are...
Where it's appropriate. It would be inappropriate. Google has the economy of scale. Yeah. For a company like Google or Microsoft for that matter, it makes sense to build your own computers because the R&D effort that you pay into it pays back many, many millions of times. It makes no sense for Bluepulse to do that at this point. On the other hand, there are lots of monitoring technologies and techniques and systems that are applicable to what we do here that I think I bring a lot to the table in terms of that kind of thinking and how to build a system that would scale continuously, 10 times next year and 10 times the year after that.
Yeah. Are you looking at using any external services like Google's App Engine or Amazon's S3 or Google's Friend Connect to build pieces of your service?
Absolutely. We fully intend to use other people's infrastructure at the scale.
Interesting. So that's the new way to build a company is take pieces from other people. They worry about those pieces. And
that's very insightful. We will not run the entire application on other people's infrastructure, but there are, for example, certain batch processes that we run that could be quote unquote outsourced, right, to Amazon EC2 or to Google App Engine.
Very cool. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing what else you guys do. And
all right,
thank you. It's been fun getting another status update on the mobile market. So, and speaking of mobile market, there's my cell phone. So.
Robert, thanks very much for coming in and catching up with us. And be sure to everyone else out there to go to bluepulse.com on their cell phone and check us out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.